Welcome to the IGC Gate Podcast, where we go beyond surface level motivation and step into real grounded conversations about growth, systems, and the hidden patterns shaping your life. I am Zayd Haji, an author, research student, management consultant, and a counselor. And in this space, we do not chase quick fixes, we build deep understanding. In today's episode, we are not asking what you should do because you already know that. We are asking a far more important question: why you are not doing what you already know and what is silently holding you back. This is not a comfortable conversation, but it is an honest one. If you listen carefully, you might find answers that change the way you approach your work, your studies, and your life. I want to talk to you today about something that quietly decides whether your team, your project, or even your own career will thrive or quietly fall apart. It's not funding. It's not talent on paper. It's coordination. Real gritty human coordination. Most startups explode not because the idea was bad, but because 5 co-founders slowly drift in slightly different directions until the whole thing fractures. One team full of absolute superstars can get ripped apart by another team that is merely good but perfectly aligned. That truth has lived in my bones for years, and today I'm laying it all out for you exactly as I've learned it through painful mistakes, quiet wins, and relentless observation. Let me start where it hurts. 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, I was often the blockage myself. I've watched people leave our company saying they were going to start their own thing, only to realize how brutally difficult it is to convince even 4 or 5 friends to take that 1-year risk with you. Everyone wants their own flavor of the journey. Everyone carries their own status needs. This is not weakness. This is human nature at scale. If you finish a year and hit certain milestones, I might let you drop to 4 days a week, hit bigger ones, and maybe 3. These are not throwaway perks. They are signals that tell people their life is being shaped by their effort, not by corporate randomness. If money were truly the only thing that mattered, why do people quit Nvidia? Why do they walk away from Google after making life-changing wealth? I have watched individuals transform from low skill to exceptionally high skill in a matter of months inside a high talent density environment. That change doesn't come from cash alone. It comes from environment, pressure, clarity, and a sense that you are becoming something more. Everything I'm about to share is an amalgamation of books I've read, experiments that worked, experiments that failed spectacularly, and lessons carved out of real leadership scars. My hope is that by the end of this, whether you run a team of 1 or 1,000, you walk away with tools that actually work in the messy reality of human organizations. The chronic worry that keeps me up at night as we approach 500 employees is simple. I genuinely don't know what our 500th employee is doing on a given day. Worse, some managers probably don't know what their 2-level skip employee is doing either. That ignorance is terrifying because your product or service must feel standardized and excellent to every single customer. On the services side especially, how do you ensure that the 1,000th person delivers the same obsessive care that the first few apartment warriors gave when everything was on the line? This is the crux of scaling quality. Most young founders I meet try to scale projects aggressively. They grab one client, then another, and by the 3rd project, the first one is already crumbling. I was guilty of exactly that at 24 and 25. We scaled fast precisely because we did the opposite. We cared deeply, almost unreasonably, about a few marquee clients and let that depth compound. The fundamental question every services leader must answer is this: how do you make every single person in your expanding team care about the customer as much as you do when you are no longer physically present? Why should they care? Social media tells them not to. The prevailing narrative is quiet quitting and minimal effort. Yet the uncomfortable truth is that when nobody cares, the person or team that actually does care ends up dominating. Caring is the ultimate unfair advantage. You cannot sit with 500 people and personally ignite their care. The only proxy that works is building exceptional leaders who absorb your DNA and transmit it layer by layer. That transmission is brutally hard. It requires deliberate communication, repeated storytelling, and visible consistency. I have spent the last couple of years texting the best CEOs I know in India and internationally, asking them how they solved specific problems in PAND, L management, team alignment, and culture. After distilling those conversations, I realized I needed to document it and teach it internally so the next layer could teach the layer after that. That is how real organizations scale without losing soul. This is why I'm sharing this openly. I call these sessions 16 cutters, sharp, practical concepts you can apply immediately. Today we are dissecting how I manage people, how I lead, how I delegate, and how I think about teams at scale. There is no single right management style. The version of me at 25 led completely differently than I do at 32. Neither was universally right or wrong. They were contextually effective or ineffective. Outcomes matter more than ideological purity. Different situations demand different energies, but the principles underneath remain surprisingly consistent. Our company logo features a lightning bolt for a reason. It symbolizes speed, visual impact, and rapid branching. We execute ideas fast. The gap between thought and action is deliberately short. We move content into public view quickly and accept that millions will judge every frame, every edit, every decision. That public judgment is painful but accelerative. When an editor or engineer receives live feedback from the world, they improve faster than any internal review cycle could force. Ideas spread quickly inside the organization too. One passionate person can ignite the next layer almost instantly. This creates a living, breathing system rather than a bureaucratic machine. For the last couple of years, I have been obsessed with what actually drives people once basic financial needs are met. Most say money. Lived experience shows something far more complex. Money matters up to a point. After that threshold, other forces dominate. I have seen leaders earning very good money still leave because status, risk purpose, or mastery pulled harder. Venture-funded companies in India have paid people handsomely for years in unprofitable setups, yet talent still walks. Even founders who sold companies sometimes abandon massive unvested equity because the psychic reward evaporated. Look at Dota as a perfect microcosm. On paper it is 5 versus 5. In reality it is often 9 versus 1 because coordination is so rare. A coordinated team of average players will destroy a team with one superstar and 4 people pulling in different directions. This is why some of your brightest colleagues leave to start companies and then struggle to recruit even close friends. Everyone wants the journey to be theirs. Everyone protects their own narrative. The only way to fight this entropy is through deliberate leadership that lowers coordination costs across the entire group. Teams always carry coordination costs. Imagine 4 people, A, B, C, and D, to produce high quality output. The team must stay below a certain threshold of friction. One person might be arrogant and non-collaborative. Another might be skilled but unable to communicate clearly in the team's primary language. A third might lack the raw skill entirely. Each adds cost. A leader's singular job is to drop those costs by any ethical means necessary. Fire the blocker, upskill the weak link, reassign, clarify, remove tools gaps, whatever it takes. Elon Musk has been described as a man with a giant hammer walking around knocking down on every obstacle in his team's way. That image stays with me. We gave away custom shoes to people who hit milestones. A shoe is just a shoe until you wrap it in narrative. Then it becomes proof that you belong to something meaningful. The same with access to a private lounge after 3 years. These are not luxuries. They are artifacts of shared mythology. Incentives must be followed through religiously. If you promise something for hitting sales targets, deliver it immediately and visibly. I recently gifted Ethos scooters to top performers not just to reward them, but to signal to the next wave what is possible. The best leaders tell forward-looking stories and then match them with performance over years. A streak of kept promises makes you prophetic. A streak of broken ones makes your words hollow. This is why I have become more careful with public commitments. I still take calculated shots, but I protect the credibility of my storytelling because it is the fuel that keeps the entire system running. Sam Altman once tweeted that incentives are a superpower. 5 words that changed how I design organizations. In our core leadership team, we have had almost zero churn. These are people earning significant money largely through performance incentives rather than fixed salary. Everyone can learn to design incentives. They work on yourself too. I used to buy myself a new pair of shoes every time I closed a deal of a certain size. The pile grew so large it became comical. The point is, we are all monkeys chasing targets. Set them thoughtfully, miss them gracefully, but keep raising the bar. Incentives and stories only work when they align with what each team member actually wants. Some people crave a 4-day work week more than extra cash. Use that. Tell them that hitting milestones unlocks reduced days. Others want status in their village, respect among peers, or visible mastery. One designer cared more about being the first in her small town to earn over $1 lakh a month than any Bangalore validation. A good leader asks constantly, what are the real aspirations of your people? How much is social proof? How much is survival? How much is mastery? Cash is the least powerful incentive once basic peer comparison comfort is reached. After that comes respect, status, purpose, and finally mastery. Mastery might be the strongest hook of all. Doda's MMR system has kept me engaged for over a decade with zero monetary reward. Video editors naturally drift toward motion graphics even when clients pay primarily for simple informational cuts. Artists obsess over tiny difficult animations that most players never notice. That internal drive to get better is pure fuel. Your job as a leader is to map out visible paths to mastery for every person. Create artificial but meaningful levels, milestones, and public recognition of progress. External rewards can sometimes destroy intrinsic motivation. The book, Punished by Rewards, shows how over-reliance on cash can turn passionate work into transactional drudgery. Nothing beats the feeling of being perfectly challenged, knowing exactly what you need to improve today to reach the next level. That is the lightning state. Get your people there and watch them run. A good leader's toolkit includes stories, incentives, roadmaps to mastery, pressure reframed as a quest for speed, and relentless removal of blockages. Humans get distracted. We scroll when we should ship. A little well-placed pressure, especially public commitment, keeps momentum alive. Blockages appear everywhere. Talent gaps, missing tools, broken processes, ego clashes. Your job is to hunt them daily so current flows freely. I have caused many human-related blockages myself over the years. High ego, low skill that refuses to improve, poor attitude baked in from upbringing, weak communication, focusing on tiny details while the big picture collapses, low trust, zero accountability, passive aggression, being overly transactional, victim mentality. Each one kills coordination. Most are fixable with time, environment, and talent density. Attitude and chronic low trust are the hardest. Low skill is surprisingly easy to solve when surrounded by excellence. Poor writing forces constant clarification meetings and drift. Good writing creates shared reality. It reduces meetings by 90%. It turns vision into executable steps, right where you want to be in a year. Right job expectations. Right blockers and solutions in advance. The best leaders I know write constantly. It is not optional at scale. Rules without enforcement destroy your storytelling power. If someone repeatedly fails to meet clearly agreed standards and you do nothing, the entire system loses belief. You must have the courage to reassign or part ways. This is not cruelty. It is fairness to everyone else carrying the load. Companies are deliberate delusion bubbles. Inside them, you need four elements to stay healthy: clear direction and shared stories, regular celebration of wins, strict rule enforcement, and external validation from clients or respected outsiders. Religions, communities, and great companies all run on this same architecture. Why does any of this matter? Because a truly coordinated system focused on growth will crush an uncoordinated one filled with infighting. 90% of organizations are fighting internally to some degree. Strong leaders suppress that fighting and redirect energy outward. In a large enough market, there is room for everyone who chooses coordination over drama. We can make several years of progress in months when differences are set aside. AI can handle execution drudgery, but human coordination, sales, client trust, and creativity remain irreplaceable. 100% coordination is a myth. Even at our best, we might reach 90 or 95%. The goal is to identify and quickly disconnect the chronic non-coordinators while still allowing healthy debate and experimentation. Run small tests when people have strong convictions. Learn fast. Remove red aura energy quickly. Protect the core alignment. This is not theory. This is how I run my company today after 13 years of building and burning and rebuilding. These principles apply whether you lead a 5-person startup, a corporate team, or even your own personal goals. Coordination is the invisible force that turns potential into results. Master it and the world opens. Neglect it and even the brightest stars will watch their efforts dissipate into noise. The choice is yours every single morning when you decide how you will generate current for the people around you. Now go apply one single idea from this today. Write one clear document. Have one honest conversation about real aspirations. Remove one blockage you have been avoiding. Small consistent actions compound into unstoppable momentum. That is how legends are actually built. Not in grand announcements, but in the quiet, daily work of keeping humans aligned and moving fast towards something that matters. I'll see you in the next session. Keep building. This is IGC Gate, and if this conversation felt more like a mirror than a lecture, then it served its purpose. Take one insight, not 10, and apply it with precision. Because real change does not come from hearing more, it comes from doing differently. Until the next episode, observe your patterns carefully and build systems that make your best actions easier to repeat.